Alright, here's the thing. Shanks isn't just some random Yonko, he's got a whole empire on Elbaf, and things are about to get wild. Between the giants, the legendary sun god Nika fruit, and a major showdown with Loki, it's clear Shanks is playing a bigger game than anyone realized. But with Luffy jumping in, everything is about to get turned upside down. Buckle up. This is just the beginning. Elbaf could very well be Shanks' playground. With ties to the mighty giants, Shanks might have actually put Loki in chains himself. Plus, he didn't hesitate to wipe out Bartolomew's fleet when things got messy. And let's not forget the legendary sun god Nika fruit he stole. Rumor has it, Loki thinks Shanks ate it himself. If true, that would add a whole new information to Shanks' mystery and power on Elbaf. But we know that Shanks does not have any devil fruit powers, so Loki needs to loosen up a bit. Alright, hear me out. What if Shanks didn't just get his Yonko title by building up his crew and gaining territory, but by actually taking down one of the most powerful figures in the world? Loki, the Prince of Elbaf, he's no ordinary guy. He's got a devil fruit that's practically legendary, a bounty that rivals the likes of Blackbeard's, and a reputation as the strongest fighter in all of Elbaf. The world government even gave him a special bounty, which means they see him as a serious threat. We're talking about someone who's not just dangerous, but someone who could shake the world if left unchecked. Now here's where things start getting a little too interesting. Loki's been locked up in the underworld, chained to a tree, for exactly 6 years. And guess what? Shanks has been a Yonko for exactly 6 years as well. Kind of a weird coincidence, right? What if it's not just a coincidence at all? What if Shanks didn't just sit around and wait for the title to come to him? What if he earned it by defeating someone like Loki? Someone with a bounty so big and dangerous that it would make any pirate's heart race? If Shanks really took down Loki, it would make total sense why he's a Yonko. I mean, taking down a powerhouse like Loki would be no small feat, and that's exactly the kind of move that would put you at the top of the pirate world. Not to mention, it would explain why Shanks is seen as such a big deal by both the world government and other pirates. So maybe Shanks didn't just rise to power by luck or political games. Maybe he earned that Yonko title the hard way, by taking down a beast like Loki and proving that he's the real deal. Shanks is pretty much a national hero in Elbaf, and it's not hard to see why. The giants, including the kids, really look up to him. He's always been about keeping Elbaf from turning into a war zone. He doesn't want the island caught up in any more conflict or bloodshed. And that's where things get interesting, because Shanks' view seems to clash with Loki's. Loki sees Elbaf as a land of warriors, a place where fighting and conflict are just a part of their culture. To him, it seems like that's how things are supposed to be, but Shanks clearly disagrees. His whole stance suggests that maybe things weren't always like this, that there was a time when Elbaf didn't have to be in a constant state of violence. And who knows, maybe Loki's actions in the past caused the upheaval that led to Elbaf becoming this battlefield. It almost feels like Shanks stepped in to rescue the island from that chaos, trying to steer it away from the violence Loki might have created. This could be why the giants like Dory and Bragi hold Shanks in such high regard. These two are some of the most respected warriors in Elbaf, and they don't just respect Shanks because he's strong. They really seem to celebrate him, almost like he's a protector of Elbaf, someone who has their back. That's not something you earn easily, especially from giants who are used to a lifetime of battle. So what is it about Shanks that makes these giants see him as more than just a fellow pirate? There's definitely something deeper there. It could be because they view him as someone who cares about the future of Elbaf, someone who doesn't want the island to keep spiraling into more war. Maybe it's the way he acts, the way he carries himself. Either way, there's clearly a deep connection and a lot of mutual respect between Shanks and the giants. But here's the big question that's never really been answered. How did Dory and Bragi even meet Shanks in the first place? We know that Luffy's straw hat has some kind of connection to Shanks, but did Dory and Bragi recognize the hat before the time skip, which made them connect the dots to Shanks? Or did they actually meet him sometime during the time skip and form a bond with him then? The timeline is a bit fuzzy, but one thing's for sure, they have a strong bond with Shanks, and it's not just about his power. There's something about him that makes even these legendary giants respect him on a personal level. It's not just about his strength or his title as a Yonko, it's more about what he represents. Maybe it's the way Shanks stands for something bigger than just fighting. Maybe it's the way he protects Elbaf and wants to ensure it doesn't end up in ruins. Whatever it is, the giants seem to see Shanks as a protector, a figure who wants to guide the island away from more violence. There's definitely something about Shanks that makes the giants, Dory and Broggy included, see him as someone special. The respect they have for him runs deep, and that bond doesn't seem like something that's easily broken. It makes you wonder what Shanks did to earn that kind of respect. Maybe it's because, unlike Loki, Shanks doesn't just accept violence as a way of life, he wants something better for Elbaf. And that's why the giants, even the ones who've been through endless battles, see him as one of their own. So here's something wild. Treasure Tree Atom, the super rare and ridiculously strong wood, might actually be the Yggdrasil from Elbaf. This stuff is like the holy grail of wood. It's not just the toughest around, but it's also insanely rare, making it a treasure in its own right. You'll even see it pop up on the black market for crazy high prices, and Frankie, being Frankie, managed to snag some for a whopping 200 million belly. Frankie even dropped some history on this legendary tree. Way back when, there was an endless war on an island, with people dying left and right, and the place getting wrecked by a storm of bullets. But through all that chaos, there was one thing that stayed standing: Atom, this giant tree. It became a symbol of hope, with people coming back to rebuild the nation near it, making it a huge part of the island's history. Now, the ships made from this wood are something else entirely. The Ora Jackson, the ship of the legendary Roger pirates, and the Thousand Sunny, the Straw Hat Pirates' pride and joy, both use Treasure Tree Atom, and let me tell you, this wood can take a beating. Cannonballs, gunfire, you name it, it barely gets scratched. Of course, it's not totally invincible, which is why a skilled shipwright like Frankie is essential to keep them in top shape. And then there's the Sunlight Tree Eve, which Yusuf couldn't help but point out had a name that seemed to match up with Atom. Could these two trees be connected somehow? It's a pretty cool thought, considering how much they mean to the Straw Hats and the world of One Piece. These are the spoilers of Chapter 1131 in the Elbaf arc that have been circulating in the internet. Loki's stuck in the underworld, chained up with sea stone and surrounded by some pretty vicious animal guards. But when he spots Luffy, he doesn't waste a second, he offers him a deal. Break him out and he'll take down any pirate crew Luffy wants. But here's the kicker, Loki calls Shanks a chicken, and that's all it takes to set Luffy off. Luffy immediately goes full gear forth, ready to throw hands and defend Shanks' honor without thinking twice. You can almost feel the intensity of Luffy's loyalty in that moment. On top of that, we learn more about Loki's dangerous past. The world government has slapped a huge 2.6 billion berry bounty on his head, which shows just how serious he is. It makes you wonder what kind of chaos he's caused. Luffy, being the curious guy he is, presses Loki about his connection with Shanks, but Loki plays it coy, saying he'll tell Luffy everything if he frees him. That's a pretty risky move, and you can tell Luffy's weighing his options. Meanwhile, Zoro and the crew are barely managing to escape from Road and his pirate gang, but it's Robin's moment that hits the hardest. She's prepping for her reunion with Saul and even asks Brooke to cut her hair, going back to her classic pre-time skip look. But just as things seem to be going well, a giant's cry breaks the tension, shouting that Saul's collapsed and isn't moving. The mood shifts instantly, and you know things aren't going to be easy from here on out. This chapter is all over the place with emotions, from Luffy's fury to the heartbreak with Saul, and it really leaves you hanging, wondering what's next. The stakes are definitely rising. So to wrap things up, the connection between Shanks and Elbaf is getting more intense and mysterious by the chapter. We're talking about a man who's not just some ordinary Yonko. He's got deep ties to the giants, and the way they respect him shows that he's way more than just a powerful pirate. Shanks' influence on the island, his ties to the legendary sun god Nika fruit, and his possible clash with Loki all point to him being a major force on Elbaf. But here's the kicker, we're only scratching the surface. The big question remains, how far is Shanks willing to go to protect Elbaf from turning into a war zone, especially with someone like Loki, if a threat that will cause chaos after Luffy set him free? The whole tension between them is the perfect setup for what's sure to be an epic showdown, with the stakes only getting higher. And then, with Luffy getting involved, things are about to get even messier. It's like this huge web of mysteries and power struggles, and we're just on the edge of it all unraveling. One thing's for sure, as more of Shanks' past and motives come to light, Elbaf is gonna be one of the most important places in the story. What happens next could shift the balance of power in the One Piece world. So buckle up, because the next chapters are bound to be filled with jaw-dropping revelations and epic confrontations.